Well, well, well. Hello, crafters. Big D here. And making some small changes here as we move forward with the channel. We have had some issues in the past with spam, and I found a lovely way to keep spammers from spamming the channel. Nom nom nom, delicious spam. Nom 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 nom. Not at all. So tonight we're talking about Warhammer, we're talking about Age of Sigmar, we're talking about Kill Team, and we're talking about Warcry. And most of all, we're talking about some changes that good old G-Dubs has made to the way that they're doing releases now, which I find real weird, real weird, real odd. It strikes me as kind of weird. So let's get into it. So this past weekend, Kill Team Killzone Galadark, Warcry Blood Hunt, the new box set, Kill Team Soul Shackle, the actual new box set, all came out. Skynox, how goes it? So just starting off from there, the new Kazerkin. Wow. They're not spelled like real words. Nice. Crush that boy. Crush that boy. Give him what he deserves. Yes. So a bunch of really anticipated stuff came out. You had Kill Team Soul Shackle, which had the new Adeptus Arbites and the Drukhari kill teams in it. You had the Kill Team Kazerkins, which were finally released as their own actual box. You had Warcry Blood Hunt, the new box set for Warcry, along with the new Kill Team Galadark, which basically is just the terrain kit for this, for the new tunnels and panels. The new what do you call it? The Space Hulk sides. And then the new kill teams, you had the Farstalker Kin Band, the Navy Breachers, the new Herotech Circle, plus the Jade Obelisk and the Hunters of Hunachi, which are all these new figures and new teams finally being released as their individual teams. And G-Dubs saw there was so much outcry and desire for some of these kits, specifically the Kazerkin and the Kill Team, the Kill Team set Soul Shackle, but it was true for all the releases. they decided to make them a limited release, like with no forewarning. So Soul Shackle, although it is a brand new set, is gone forever already. And stores were limited in the number of copies they got. As y'all know, I work at a game store, part-time in the evenings, and they have 3 locations. They got 1 copy of Soul Shackle per store. They got 2 boxes of Kazurkin per store, and only 1 box of each of the other teams per store. I had pre-ordered 2 boxes of Kazurkin, and they didn't know if they were going to be able to get me my 2 boxes. I had to kind of go through some hoops because a couple other people had ordered some, and somebody was willing to go, you know what? I wanted them because I eventually want the army, but you actually play them. So he let me buy the second box. That's crazy. The actual GW stores themselves were limited in the number of copies that they got, and you had to buy them from the web portal if you wanted a copy. And even then, it wasn't guaranteed. Kazurkin are currently out of stock, and Soul Shackle is sold out forever, never to return again within a couple of days of it being released, which is ridiculous. Now, there's talk that this is going to become a normal thing with them to push sales numbers back into their golden embrace. But it goes further than that. They're going to push the numbers of the things they're expecting there to be a lot of demand for. They're going to push the number that they let in out of their reach, so into independent sellers. They're going to limit the number of those that they let out. But the stuff that is going to be, okay, that's going to be allowed however you want. So there's already talk. There's this new box set coming out with the new missile Marines, the new melee dreadnought, and the new lieutenant sculpt. New lieutenant. Because they clarified it's not lieutenant, it's lieutenant. Whatever. And the worry is that is going to be a limited release box. That you're going to see stores only get 1 or 2 per store. You're going to have to buy it online. They're going to quickly sell out. They're going to sell out of all of them right away. And then scalpers are going to get theirs because a lot of these scalpers have a business license, so they're buying through a distributor. So they're getting their numbers, and then they're just reselling them or cutting them apart. No. So I'm not. We're back to the whole scalper's paradise situation again. It's not the fact that FOMO has been the business model, because yes, as we know, GW has been FOMO for years. But now they're pushing it even harder. It at least was, yes, there was FOMO. For those who don't know or aren't familiar, fear of missing out. And fear of missing out, FOMO has been their business model for years. They've always had a lot of some of the things that if they were to make more units of, they'd certainly sell them. I can immediately think of Space Hulk. Every edition of Space Hulk that has ever come out has been unbelievably and welcomed and purchased. And I have still never been able to get my hands on a copy of it because of how short those releases are. I wanted a copy of Space Hulk for decades, and you can't get your hands on one. It's the dumbest goddamn thing. Just play SW Legion with us. I have no interest in playing SW Legion. I'll be playing Conquest, and we're gonna talk about Conquest tonight a bit too. And one of the reasons we're talking about Conquest is because they quite literally have the opposite business view of GW, in that they don't believe in FOMO. They believe if you want it, you can buy it, and we'll get it to you. So, like I said, we all know that GW has driven their business on FOMO, but now they're even driving it harder. They're literally giving the scalpers the incentive to push it even harder. After they already have set record sales 3 years in a row, they keep setting the record for sales. And they beat their year before, and then they beat the year before that, and then they beat the next year, and they keep doing it, and they keep pushing themselves down. And it brings me to mind what is going on with a company that's doing the opposite thing, but is starting to lose its player base because they're pushing too much product. And so instead of there being FOMO, there's buyer's fatigue. Investors want to see constant growth. That is a true statement. But the problem is that they could continue doing business the way they are, and they would still see the growth. The game is more popular now than it has ever been, and it is only growing bigger. It is becoming mainstream thanks to mainstream media picking it up and talking about it more and more and more and more and more. Thanks to public figures coming out and talking about it. And I'm not just talking about Henry Cavill. Because of Henry Cavill, there's a lot more people in Hollywood. There's a lot more people in the music industry. There's a lot of people in the theater that are talking about, hey, I play this game too. And you're seeing it more and more. But G-Dub's going to G-Dub. I mean, G-Dub's going to G-Dub. And the problem is that when you see that they did this, and then come 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, there's basically a 5 to 7% price upgrade across the board for everything they sell other than books. Is that the distant call of a 3D printer I hear? I don't know. I don't know if I hear that, because that's still not always the answer. But I do see them pushing it in the middle of an expansion. Kill Team is more popular than it's ever had. I mean, there was a Kill Team tournament at LVO. Kill Team is getting massive popular. There's lots to talk about it online. Lots to talk about competitive Kill Team. And then they put these expansions and they limit them. And the problem is, who is their target audience, Ben? If they don't put enough units out there to sell them to everyone that wants them, who is their target audience? New players can't get the game because it's not on the shelves. It's already sold out. Who's their target? If they sell things out before they're in mass release, they're not selling them to new players either. They're selling them to existing players that want a specific piece and are pre-ordering them months ahead of time. And then not getting them because I didn't get enough published. I don't think new players they're targeting. I don't know what the hell they're doing. It doesn't make any sense. They're putting things in limited release. They're upping the prices. They're reducing. I don't even get started on dice. I was okay. A 20-man block, a 20-die block of specialty dice for an army or specialty dice for a specific game. I was down with a 20-die block for $35 because if you really love that army, you really love that scheme, and you want your dice, that's just that simple. So they upped them by $3 and they reduced the dice by 5. So now you're getting 15 dice for $38. Yeah, Chessex, you're getting my money back again because I'm not going to pay $2 a die. Probably. They are awesome. I mean, they do look great, but now they're literally $2+ a die. Yeah. I don't think anything's that great. Some people will. I mean, I say that now. If they produced a better looking set of Space Wolf dice, I'd probably buy another box of them. If they produced some really cool looking, oh no, I can actually say I wouldn't because I looked at the Astra Militarum dice and I didn't like them. I'm like, I didn't like them, and so I didn't buy them. I was gonna buy them. You asked that, Commodore. Arguably, I'd say they do because I mean, I'm not gonna say that they're crap, cheap dice. They're not. The GW made dice are really, really nice dice, but it's just the diminishing returns from not to invest. Yeah, I can kind of see that art. And the problem is Dominion. Dominion was a complete misstep by them. I agree. The problem with Dominion is that they looked at what happened with the Indomitus Crusade box and thought, well, we're going to do the same thing with Age of Sigmar, and it's going to be just as popular. The problem is there were 2 armies in that box that were both awesome. And then you got the the Dominus box, the Dominion box, and there was one army that was really good and one army that was pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. Let's see what Ben is sending me. Ben is sending me stuff. I want to see what Ben is sending me. What are you sending me, Ben? Oh, those are some pretty cool looking dice. I now have a new dice company I have to go look at. Because those are dice. Those are good dice. Yeah. Yeah, I like those. So yeah, like I said, I just find it aggravating that they're doing this. Like every time they do this, they get this huge outcry, and the community screams about it, and they say, "Well, we're not going to do it again," and they don't do it for like a year, and then they do it again, and the community freaks out about it again, and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry," but I don't think they're going to back off this time. I think this is their new business model. Just like I'm seeing what they're doing with these freaking boarding patrol boxes. I noticed this when they did the boxes this Christmas. Like, if you look at the Battle Force boxes from this past year, a good number of those boxes, like the Mechanicum box, the Death Guard box, the Thousand Suns box, the Sisters of Battle box. All those four that I know of off the top of my head that I can think of all have the company's name is Baron of Dice. So baronofdice.com. Check them out. They look good. But all four of those Battle Force boxes have the named Supreme Leader in the box. Morninval, Magnus the Red, Mortarion, and Belisarius Cawl. All of them have the named character. And I was like, well, that's disappointing. I don't want any of these Christmas boxes. And I remembered I'm not really their target audience. Kind of am, but I'm not. I don't know. I looked at those boxes and I'm like, I mean, they all have good stuff in them, but then they take up a big chunk, in the case of the two Chaos ones, a big chunk of the dollar by putting this $170 Demon Primarch in the box. They are an incredible value for people starting those armies. But a person starting an army does not want a $170 figure to try and start unless they're literally an existing player that's been playing for years and finally wants to jump into an army. They're a great deal, but good Lord. Like, yeah. Now, and the other point is that I know of some boxes that have been produced in the past where it's like, that's a great box. I'd buy 2 of those. I'd buy 3 of those. These are all, you buy one, you don't want to buy more than one. And I think that's what they caught on to. And now I'm seeing them do the same thing with these boarding patrol boxes. There was some talk that they were already doing that with some of the the Vanguard or the Combat Patrol boxes. The Death Guard Combat Patrol has a named character in it. The Thousand Suns has a named character in it, I think. Or might have been their old Star Collecting box had a named character in it. Because one of them has Ahriman in it. And now the new Chaos Marine boarding patrol box has Mr. Black Crusade in it himself. The new Eldar boarding patrol box has the named character, the Phoenix Lord of the Banshees in it. Jane Czar, I think that's her name. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Yeah, they want already have your money. They want other people's money. Again, I'm not disagreeing. One of the nice things about being a player is that you wait for these boxes to come out and you buy one to fit in your army. And if they're going to start putting named characters in all the boxes, the new Drukhari one has the named Drukhari dude in it. Yeah, they want my money. They want somebody else's money. They already have my money. Yeah, that does kind of seem the way you want it, but you'd buy one, you'd buy the other. They used to be you would I know back in the day the old the original Guard Start Collecting box and the Space Wolf Start Collecting box. Those were two boxes that you would buy like 3 copies of. Like boom, boom, boom. They're perfect. They're a great box. They're great value. A lot of the Combat Patrol boxes, a lot of the old Start Collecting boxes were really good for I buy 3 boxes, I've got an army. And then I can buy other stuff to fill it up, but that's a big bulk of my army. And you can see GW is like, well, we don't want people doing that. We want people to buy 1 copy, or we're gonna make it that way. So because you're gonna. The original Tau Start Collecting box was a good box. You just ended up, if you bought more than like 2, you ended up, I mean, you had a. I still have extra ethereals sitting in the box. I have like 5 extra ethereals lying around because you only really need 1 ethereal. And it's just like, why do I have all these extra ethereals? Yeah, the starting box was a great job. The new one is not bad if you like those units. The fact they took crisis suits out of their Combat Patrol box was just like, they really want to push people playing Ghost Kills and buying Ghost Kills. So, and that's fine. Again, that's totally fine. I see them. I have a channel for commentary, and this is commentary. And my commentary is that I don't like the way they're designing some of these boxes. And I understand why they're designing this way. Yeah. But it's the same deal now. I mean, you're getting a Ghost Kill and stealth suits and a fire team. There's the boxes are still a good deal. Never going to deny that. The boxes are a good deal. I'm just saying I don't like the way they're designing the boxes moving forward, because it's very obvious they're designing these boxes to, if you buy this box, you're never going to buy a second one because you're never going to want the money you're saving, you're going to lose with any time you buy a second box, because now you're going to have a second figure you're never going to play. And if you already bought the character, you don't want this box. So if you really like an army, don't buy the name characters, because eventually they're going to be in the box. No, if it was a tasting, they wouldn't put a name character in the box. That's my point. They're not a tasting. At this point, they're like, no, this is dinner, buddy. If you're buying this box, you're buying in because you're getting name characters, and those are an investment. Again, this is just my opinion. You can take it or leave it. I understand why GW doing it. It doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean I enjoy the way they're doing it. And it does mean they're going to be getting less money from me, because there were armies I think I get into that. If I get a good deal on that boarding, I don't need that figure. I've bought 2 box sets of that army with different deals, and they always include that goddamn figure. I think I have 3 Jane Zars between the different Elven kits we've bought. 3 of them. What the frick are we going to do with 3 Jane Zars? Because they just throw her in every single box kit they do. We really like this swoopy hair chick. We're going to put her in the box, and you're going to buy her. I'm not disagreeing with you. They could put an unnamed character in there. That's the point I'm making. I bet she absolutely wrecks in boarding actions, because I bet Banshees, and the box has Banshees in it. I think Banshees are going to absolutely destroy. Half the Eldar range is still old enough to drink. Not really. They've replaced a lot of models. Commodore. Yeah, they've still got a few, but they've replaced a lot with between the Phoenix box and the refresh they got earlier this year, or last year, I should say. They replaced a lot of figures. A lot of figures. And they took a lot of figures out and got rid of them. I mean, they've got a couple old figures. Doesn't matter. That's not who's going to be getting their big refresh first. We're going to see Tyranids get a massive refresh before anybody else does. But I'll be damned if we're not going to get some new Marine figures. I'm a Space Wolf player. I like missiles. Space Wolves love missiles. I don't know why, but I mean, the Space Wolf Long Fang team for the longest time was you would get your Sergeant, you get a Terminator with a missile rack on his head, and then you'd have 5 guys, because Long Fangs could have one more dude than a regular Devastator squad, and you'd have 5 missile rack guys. So you were getting 7 missiles shot down range. I love missiles. And then they introduced a new Primaris missile team. And I'm confused. I'm so confused by these models. They look hilarious. I love the Nerf gun, giant missile rack, rotating missile, the missile. The guns look ridiculous. And I'm hyped for them. And then they released the stats earlier this week, and it's like, okay, hang on. So basically, the small version of the missile is the same as the regular missile with a point of AP. The big missile is the exact same with a point of AP, and instead of being a D6 damage, it's a D3 plus 3. Okay. I'm fine with that. It's a little better. The thing that got me was that the MiG missile has 2 tubes. It's very obviously 2 missiles. And it's a heavy 1. And then there's 2 other profiles. So this one gun has 4 separate profiles. And I don't know if it's gonna be you build it differently, or they're set up differently, or the gun looks different, or it's just you pick the profile you shoot. One of the profiles is basically a 48-inch autocannon, which with worse AP. I don't even know what to think about this missile thing, because I'm worried that they're going to be super freaking expensive as a unit because reasons. I want to get them because I like Marines, and they're goofy, so I love them to death because they're goofy looking. But you hit it right on the nose, Commodore. They should have put them in Gravis armor. They should have made them a variant of the they should have made him a variant of the aggressor. They should have made him like an aggressor that has like missile racks here and then missile racks on the arms. That would have been really cool, like little short missiles, the little scatter missiles here, and really made them like really leaned into the missile shooting war suit. I am too. They've only released the weapon profiles at this point, and the weapon profiles are just really freaking underwhelming. I mean, other than the big missile being strength 8, AP negative 4, D3 plus 3 damage. That's great, but it's heavy 1. So even though it's a twin missile, you're firing 1. I'm wondering if they're going to have something like the Eradicator. It's like, if they don't move, they can fire a second time. I'm thinking that's the reason they have to have the twin missile block on top. There's got to be some justification or some way to make them shoot twice. If you're firing at the same unit, or you're firing at a stationary unit, or you're stationary, I think they're going to do something with that. They've got to do something to have them fire twice, because the twin missile box up top doesn't make sense if it's a missile shot one. it just doesn't make sense. So, on the other hand, having 10 of them downrange go, hello, say hello to my little friend, and putting 10 of these freaking missiles into something, I mean, they're gonna delete stuff. They're gonna delete the shit out of stuff. Strength 8. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have the ability to delete stuff. I'm wondering how expensive they're gonna be, and if they're just like Hell Blasters, but with this weird missile. It's the Missile Launcher 5000. The Missile Launchinator 5000. I mean, that's what it really looks like. It really does look like a Doofenshmirtz freaking creation. The Missilinator 5000. So they released also this week. They released, in addition with the box game stuff, they released Gloomspite Gitz and the Beasts of Chaos. And I've gotten to take a close look at the range. I got to say, I have a person in my house, Lady D, who loves the Gloomspite Gitz. She's all excited for the Gitz. She loves Squigs. She loves the silliness of the army, and she loves the look, and I'm glad for that. And the Beastmen are an iconic Chaos army that has been around since the very beginnings of Warhammer. To see them finally getting their box released halfway through this edition, it took long enough. So here's where my issue is. These models are the same models they were using at the end of Fantasy. The Squigapalooza, the Squig Riders, the Moon Boys. These are the Beastmen. These are all the same models that were being used 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I know we're just talking about that, but I mean, Age of Sigmar, there are certain armies that are constantly getting, Stormcast, but there's a couple armies that have gotten some pretty massive refreshes. And then there's armies like this, like these guys, like the Fire Dwarves. Like the Fire Dwarves are the worst because they've got literally 5 kits. The entire army is 5 kits. And one of the kits is just modular, done 3 different ways. And one of the kits is modular, done 2 or 3 different ways. It's like, that's it. It's like there's 2 HQs and this and that. And it's just like, and the goblins are pretty much the same. They both got a new HQ figure, like a resculpt, which what the rats got too. When the Skaven got their new kits, they got a new HQ. And the rats have been on the same army forever. I mean, it's the same kits. They just swapped out the bases. I saw somebody with the square base Skaven army the other day, and it's literally the same army. And then I was looking at the ogres, and the ogres got a new model, a new HQ model. But then Ben and I were playing with a guy that's got the ogre army, and he's got the exact same army I do, the exact same models. My army's brand new. I've had it, some of it's not even painted, it's so new. He's had this army for 15 years, and it's the same kits. They're on the 3rd edition of Age of Sigmar. And except for the units, that were woven out of whole cloth, brand new. Like all the existing armies have been living on these pre-existing kits since the game that failed and was shuttered was being run. And then they had insult to injury. I thought the most insulting thing of it all was that literally the cover to the Gloomspite Gets Codex, or sorry, Battle Tome, is the exact same art as the last edition. I know because I was taking them, the old ones off the shelf and putting the new ones on and went, it's the same damn book. It's just the new one has a red border on the top. Really, GW? You talk about cutting corners. Holy crap. And with no hype. There's been no hype about this army. And, goblins are traditionally one of the most popular factions. Nothing. I heard no hype about this, guys. I mean, I heard, oh, they're coming out. And then they're out. And we're on to the next show. And I was like, wow. Like the Gloomspite Gets, formerly known as, they were the Bad Moon Goblins something, or the Moon Riders. So they had another name, but they're basically goblins. And they've literally given them no hype, no love, no nothing. And it's a damn shame because I gotta say, they're a hilarious looking army. I'm glad Shan's into them because it's like they're one of those armies you just kind of want to go, they need love. Look at them. These are figures that want to be painted crazy colors and do crazy stuff with them. They're absolutely hilarious sculpts. They're dated, but they're still hilarious sculpts. I don't know how I feel about that. The last few releases that weren't Slaves to Darkness really show that Age of Sigmar is the redheaded stepchild of the GW family. And Warcry even more so. Warcry is a great game. And that game gets no freaking hype whatsoever. I mean, the terrain that comes in that box, the armies that come in that box, the gameplay itself, I mean, it's a great game. And it just gets no hype whatsoever. It's a shame. It's a real shame. I want to try and get down to Warpstorm this weekend for our Hot Hammer and get a game of Age of Sigmar in, or potentially a game of 40K. Maybe both. I'd really love to throw some dice this weekend. It just bothers me to see these game companies on a whole just doing poor by their fans when you see other companies going above and beyond. Paizo and what they've been doing in the wake of WotC's falling down. There's the whole WotC situation, which I can't even completely get into because they have just really screwed the pooch over there. It's freaking sad is what it is. I'm glad I've kind of stepped away in some ways from some more mainstream role-playing games, and I'm liking the fact that the role-playing games I'm going to be getting into are going to be lesser known systems, lesser used systems, and older systems that aren't as commonly used, just because I think they'll be more fun that way. They're hyping the Seraphon. It looks like the Seraphon are getting a massive, massive redo. Unfortunately, I work on Wednesdays, so my days available to do stuff are Thursdays and Sundays, and that's it. At least through the end of the year. Yeah, I like that they're going through, because that's another really really old line, and they've redone a couple big name characters, and now it looks like they're giving like the entire Gator side of the army, they're giving it a massive rework. I have a couple of the figures in resin just because I love the look of the figures. They're very Mayan slash Aztec look to all their stuff. Um, and that's a big drawing point. And they're redoing the new Seraphon look really, really good. Like the new they just showed off the new Salamanders unit today for them. And they look great. I mean, I love that they're getting some love as the old Lizardman army. But again, they're that's an army they already gave a ton of love to like a couple years ago when they redid a bunch of their other units, and now they're redoing the other half of the army. And yet we've got armies like the Gits and the Beasts of Chaos that are still in the same old thing, or the Fire Slayer dwarves that don't have any freaking units. And at this point, I feel like I'm shouting at the mountain because, GW is going to do what GW is going to do. And I'm just one voice, and it's just my opinion. The funny thing is, I know of a lot of Gits players. I actually know of quite a few Gits players. You talk to the Age of Sigmar guys from up north. Everybody does love riding dinosaurs, Like I said, I thought about getting a Seraphon army. That's why I bought a number of the figures in resin when they came available to me. I went, I'll take that, just because they were really iconic figures that I really liked. We'll see. I gotta admit, I was hyped about what they were doing with the Slaves to Darkness, and then I got a really close up look at like the Demon Prince, and I'm like, that thing is gonna tip over all the time. That figure looks so unwieldy, and I may be wrong. They may have built it so it looks it, but it's gonna be fine and balanced. But that just thing looks like that's just gonna be tip and go flying. It's just so top heavy and unbalanced. To me, it looks like it's a good looking figure. I don't want to lie. It's a good looking figure. It's not what? It's not unbalanced, or it's not a good looking figure, Commodore. Because I was surprised that they left it on a 60 millimeter base. Okay, fair. Okay, well then they did a really good job of sculpting it then to hide it, because it looked like it's super tippy and super unbalanced. So that's good. Then that's much better. I did notice that the 40K version has a gun, and we don't have rules for that in two armies that can take him. Didn't even errata that shit. Ugh. All right. Let's move on to some non-GW stuff. So, Conquest is made by Parabellum. No, that shouldn't. So, Parabellum Games has this wonderful fantasy game called Conquest. Now, some of you that were at Dragon Con, we sat next to those guys and we were oohing and eyeing over those figures all freaking weekend. And now they've got a new starter box coming, and we're getting some new armies. And I know Commodore Commodore and I are looking at, we're going to be splitting a starter box, where he's getting the undead Greeks and I'm getting the Nord Viking dudes. Last I talked to the Warpstam crew, they're doing everything they can to get the Conquest stuff in. They're trying to bypass the distributor and goes right to Parabellum and see if they can go that way. So the game looks interesting. I like it. I think having one army will be fine for me. I think they're cool enough. Whatever, Commodore. They're Greek. They're a bunch of Greek freaks. You're getting them. I don't care. I'm getting my Viking boys. That's all I've ever wanted, was a fantasy Viking army. What is Conquest? It's a fantasy game, Lady D, with figures and miniatures. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. More of an explanation. Well, they are a weird alternate reality, alternate history sort of fantasy setting. Like, all the factions are very different, but they've got like historical basis. Like the Roman looking army is like undead, and the Greeks, I guess, are steampunky. The Nords are very Viking-y, Nordy stuff, with calling on the spirits of the ancestors and stuff like that. There's yeah, it's interesting. It's easier to show it off. I just, you got the 100 Kingdoms. I just, it's just, they're crazy looking figures. They're great. They're the price point is amazing. The game is well put together. I've seen a demo of the game being played, and it plays quite well. Lady D, you would love the figures. You would love the figures because the figures are detailed, even their troops and stuff. But there's not a lot of assembly with a lot of the smaller things. The bigger ones have assembly. But there's like the Wardrune, which I think are the dwarves. There's Old Dominion, which I think is those undead Romans. I haven't really dove into the setting. Yeah, the orc giant riding a giant T-Rex, but Mayans. Yeah, I mean there's some it, it's crazy looking cool. Um the art they've done is crazy, it's wonderful. The figures are beautiful. They're upscaled, so they're heroic scale, um just like um AOS. They just I don't know. I like rank and flank. I've been getting kind of into rank and flank. I've been wanting to play it some more. And I think having a simpler army to play along with, my Song of Fire and Ice. Problem is there aren't that many Song of Fire and Ice people, and we seem to be getting a lot of people interested in playing this. So I have to settle myself playing Song of Fire and Ice with Commodore when he's up for it, or with my son when he's up for it, and that's about it. Yeah, they're 38 millimeter. They're bigger. They're bigger. They're beefier figures. Like the standard figure is like you got Greyjoy. All right, Chavez, we'll have to get in some games in because my wildlings like want to throw it out with people. I really like the game. It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. Oh, too many games, too many good games. And that's the thing. That's what I like. There's this real renaissance of games going on. Just so it said, if anybody is looking to pick up or get back into, or just get into for the first time in the Kings of War, let me know. I got a deal for you. Well, count we're getting some games in. If anybody's looking to get into Kings of War, I'm not going to get into Kings of War, but I was looking at the figures. They're okay. But it's basically, if anybody liked old Warhammer fantasy, the old style fantasy, that's what the game style is. And I got a deal on figures for you. Man, oh man, oh man. If you were looking for the older figures for that, I know there's a lot of them on sale for like a lot off. So let me know. They've got goblins, dwarves, and ratlings. So all right, we're coming up on 8:30. Got a half hour left in the show. Part of what I was touching on is that there's been this rise, and I think it's due to the way that GW has been doing their releases. People want to play war games. Like war games are growing in popularity, but I think there's a lot of people that are getting very disillusioned with the way that GW does their business. And there's other games out there that people want to play. And I'll admit, I love 40K. I love Age of Sigmar, but I kind of want to play some other games too. And before we go any further, I don't want to play Lord of the Rings. Just for whatever reason, the same reason I don't want to play the Star Wars game. It's like, how do I say it that it makes sense? Because it's just, I like Star Wars. I like Lord of the Rings. I'm okay with them being media. I don't need to play them. I don't really have a lot of interest in playing them. I'm okay watching them. I'd rather play something where I have some input in the world and the army and my dudes. Yeah, and then, you know, again, it's a personal thing. If somebody likes Legion or someone likes Lord of the Rings, go for it. Enjoy it. Play the game and enjoy it and have fun with it. There's plenty of games out there. Something will grab you. Something will get you going. I mean, I'm hearing more and more and more about Armada and X-Wing. And I've noticed the last couple times I've been there on Hot Hammer, I've been seeing like some of the older like dog fighting. There's a buddy of mine who's there playing what is it, Blood in the Sky? I forget what it's called, but it's basically World War I airplane dog fighting, and that was on a tabletop. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. I haven't seen that one in forever. That's Yeah, and that's a cool game. I mean, I remember getting shown that game like 30 years ago. I was like, that's a cool game. You know, there's a game that I would get into, like World War I air combat. It's like, or World War II air combat. Man, I would dig to get into like, because I've been looking at like bolt action. I'm like, yeah, no. But then again, I'm looking at the Flames of War with the tanks, and I want to play it. I just don't have really the means to get to anybody that plays it because it's only really played one day a week around here in town, and I got other things to do. Yeah, I've been seeing like again, you work Steel Rift. Is that game that Antonio's been pushing? Because if that's the game that Antonio's pushing, I'm interested. I'll be honest, I'm more interested in BattleTech, if people were actually interested in BattleTech, because I used to play that back in the day, and now that it's got a revival, I'm hearing it's getting massive. Yeah, I'm hearing it's getting massive, like good reviews in BattleTech. The new version of BattleTech's really fun and really popular, and people are really loving it. And I used to love playing me some BattleTech. And if Steel Rift plays like BattleTech, I could see getting into that. But I also just see getting back into good old fashioned BattleTech. So that's a game that's but that goes back to the whole thing that yeah, you know, wargaming is cool again. Wargaming's back. It's getting more and more popular. Painting is getting popular. My God, like the amount of people I see with new content. You know, hey, I saw this game and I thought it was cool. You know, somebody who wasn't even in the gaming, they saw some figures they thought were cool and they got into playing the game and they painted the figures. Or somebody got like a new board game. I saw somebody bought a copy of Scythe. One of the people on my Instagram, they bought a copy of Scythe and they decided to paint up all the figures just on a whim. They're like, I normally don't paint figures, but these just look so cool. I didn't want them to be all plain, so I wanted to paint them up. And they did a great job painting them up. And it's like, wow, you know, I mean, that's cool. And I like war games like that. I like board games and war games and figure games and just stuff. I want to play more board games. I want to play more tactical or, you know, deeper board games. Um, I got to get to my buddy Wormy. We got to get some games in because I really want to play. I really want to play some more of the games that we had. Red Rising is a great game. Everybody know I constantly talk about people in face to face about how much I love um, um, Terraforming Mars. Agricola is a great game. Tikal is a great game. Wingspan, top 5 all time game for me. I still think it's one of the best out there. That and Terraforming Mars are probably two of my favorite games. I'd love to get a game of Dead of Winter going again. That's kind of a longer time commitment, but I'd love to get a game Dead of Winter. I'd love to crack open that box of Mariposas that I won, which is a game about monarch butterflies, and see how that plays. I'd love to get a game of that in. I think gaming on a whole, I like the fact that gaming on a whole of all kinds, seeing people coming into the store, seeing what people are interested in, seeing what we would call normies coming into gaming stores and buying stuff and really getting into it, having conversation with somebody who's really into one kind of game, and then see that I'm the Warhammer guy at that store. So they ask me some questions about Warhammer and they get really into it. And then they walk out with, a box set and some paints. I've really been enjoying playing Magic lately, and I, just screwed around and bought a few cards, bought loose cards, and I built a commander deck from scratch. It's going to be a silly deck. I don't think it'll be very good, but I think it'll be hella fun to play. And I have the ability to swap out cards and make it better. Diversifying my gaming. Making me think in different directions. I kind of dig that. And I think that helps everybody's gaming. I want to get some of my friends, Commodore, and play other games with them. Play other games. So I think it's good for everybody involved. Hell, I'd love to get a game of just good old-fashioned Yahtzee going. That's a fun game. I want to interact with people more. And gaming is the way I interact with people. I don't like people, but I like people. It's a weird place I'm in. I know what I don't like. No. I guess my wife does not like Yahtzee. I bet I would. Hey, what is there to bring? It's 5 dice and a pad of paper. Let's go. When I got out of the military, I had a regular group of buddies, and yeah, we played role-playing games, and yeah, we played board games. But one of the things I miss the most about that group of friends is we used to play sheep's head and freaking spades all the goddamn time. Like, we would spend hours and hours and hours playing sheep's head, playing freaking spades. Oh my God. Ugh. I'd love to get a new cribbage board. Teach my kids how to play cribbage. Teach you guys how to play cribbage, the ones I interact with. I think Ben wants me to come to Hot Hammer. I think maybe, Lady D, we should go to Hot Hammer on Sunday. We'll take some Yahtzee dice. We'll play Yahtzee. I know how much you love it. And make you think of your mom. And have some hot ham and rolls. So I'm I'm having an issue with my AK interactive stuff. You might notice the rough edge there. I've literally, the washers that come in the lids suck. You're not wrong, Ben. They suck really bad. I've had to stick a plastic bag over them and then screw it down over the top of the plastic bag to get a seal. All right, you freaking maniacs. So here's the thing. This stuff, the wet ground, got a little dry. So I put some water in it to mix it up, soften it up, thin it out, and make it usable again. And it worked like a charm. And then about 2 weeks later, open it back up. And there was a fine layer of mold in this. So I had to scoop a bunch out, threw a little vinegar in there, threw a little bit of denatured alcohol, mixed it up really, really well, cured it, cleared out whatever it was that caused the mold. But it makes me wonder what organics are in here, because it's just supposed to be vinyl and spackle. Has anyone had paint or texture paste mold before? Because it was the weirdest thing to me. Oh, you guys. You guys are the best. I love you guys so much. And I'm sad because it's obvious none of you love me. Because we're an hour and 10 minutes in. I don't have a single uplink. I don't have a single like. Not even one. Not even from my own wife. You people are terrible. You're terrible to me. I bring you joy. I give you conversation. Well, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. So, seeing that I have a number of my patrons currently in here, I'm going to give a quick shout out to them, as is due. Just clumping. Yeah, I thought it was really weird, honestly. It was the weirdest thing. But as is due, I'm going to give a big shout out to my lovely patrons. And I know it's a number you hear tonight, and I really want to thank you guys for the patronage. Shannon and I, Lady D, and I are we're doing a kind of a redesign. I know I've been talking about this redesign of the studio for a bit. We're working on a redesign right now that's going to involve a bunch of changes to the whole house, the way things are laid out. And if we can get this going in the next few months, I actually want to do kind of a studio tour the way I reorganize everything, because I'm in the midst of literally reorganizing, recataloging, and shifting everything in the studio around. Yeah, I used a plastic spoon. I scooped out all the mold and then threw some vinegar and some denatured alcohol, mixed it up. I didn't come back. But I was concerned. I'm like, the hell's in this that I'm getting mold? The vinegar and the denatured alcohol killed off whatever would have been. So we're gonna give out a big shout out this evening. First off, to my lovely brother Alex, who I need to go and see. I haven't heard much or seen much from him lately. Haven't too much on Facebook. I know he's got some issues. I want to ask my fellow channel members, and you're not going to hear this often from me because a lot of you know I'm not a very spiritual guy. But I know Airbrush Center, good idea. I know I'm not a very spiritual guy, but I know some of you are. And if you are, I know he's been having some health problems lately. So if you could put him into your daily routine, just say a prayer for my brother. I'm going to get to see him soon and see what's going on with him. But just put some positive energy out in the world for him. I know he's having some health issues. I don't know the whole deal, but I worry about him. He's my big brother, and I love him to death, and I miss him a bit, and I just want him to be better. Along with my brother at that Battle Brother tier, I want to give a big shout out to the lovely Tina Raven. Thank you so much, Tina. You are always a joy to talk to. When I show up at Hot Hammer, you're just, you're a ray of sunshine. And don't let Ben talk you into selling that army off. You have multiple armies, and that's okay. In my battle leader tier, we have a man, Joe Bookish. He's still hooking me up. He's a good guy. I gotta talk to him. I gotta find him. I haven't talked to him in a bit. It's been a bit, so I gotta feel what's going on with him. I have the amazing Mythos Kushranada, the Black Rose Dragonite, my guy over at Frost and Fist. If you do not patronize Frost and Fist, you're wrong. You should. He's fun. They're interesting, and they have on some great guests, and they talk about great stuff, and they talk about painting, and they do cool stuff. So check them out. And lastly, my guy, Big Ben Karaskia. Thank you so much, sir. That $3 a month means a lot from a skinflint like you. Excellent. That's so awesome to hear, Tina. We got to grow this Age of Sigmar thing up. We got to grow this out because people need to play this game more. It's such a good game. There's no excuse not to play Age of Sigmar. Lastly, I'm going to give a shout out to my 2 Warlord tier patrons. The lovely, the amazing, the talented Jessica, the Pirate Phoenix. If you haven't seen lately, she's been painting up some of her sisters in this beautiful blue and brown scheme, but she took a break to paint, I think it was a rogue, really like a role-playing character, and it was such a great figure, great dynamic figure, and she did such an amazing job, especially on some of the leather bits. Just some really, really good work. Check her out. If I can find links to her Instagram where she puts her stuff, or a lot of you already know her, so just ask her to see it. Get her links. And lastly, my man who didn't come in with the phalanx tonight just came in and talked schmack. Right in, just walked in, schmack, schmack, schmack. My man, the big guy, who gave me the balm that lets my beard look as good as it does. I gotta thank you for that. Because look at that beard. Look at that. That is a majestic. That is a majestic goatee. Look at that. It's just beautiful. And I gotta thank the Commodore for that. Thank you so much, buddy. You got some new dice. I'm guessing you got them from I'm guessing you got those dice from the Baron of Dice. It's a baby beard, yes, because I like to keep my cheeks clear, because I like a soft kiss on the cheek. So I keep my cheeks clear, so I just grow in the middle. But I'm going to grow it out. I'm going to grow nice, long lizards. And maybe I'll braid it up and put a hammer on the end of it. I have to check out what other dice the Baron of Dice have, because that looks pretty cool. They look like they got some cool 6-sided dice. I want to check them out. Especially since the dice that you sent me, they are sold out of, you bastard. That being said, we're going to wrap things up a little bit. I want to offer one other option out there. There is a free gaming system out there that is miniature indifferent. I'm a member of their Patreon, because they offer STLs every month, but they also have a game system that goes with their miniatures called One-Page Rules. I kind of want to pop off a set of their rules, put together a couple armies, and say maybe with the Commodore or with either of the Carrasquillos, sit down and play some of this one-page rules to see, because I hear it's like 40K or Age of Sigmar, but simpler and better in certain ways. So I'm going to give it a shot, see how it plays. The channel Wylock has done some battle reports in their 40K, their Grimdark Future, which is one-page's rules 40K version of the game. I'd love... He would be all about playing that Welfare 40K. Oh, Ben, come on, let's be honest. Let's be honest, Ben. Welfare 40K is the best 40K. Oh, I like those. Those are nice, bright yellow. That's even the Space Wolf logo. That's, ooh. That's not bad, though. $32 for 25 dice. $60 for 50 dice. I can see that. I like the marbling. That's a pretty die. All right, you crazy animals. We're gonna get out of here. But yeah, let's convene Sunday. Bring some different games and just see what joy comes from us as friends coming together to roll dice, to compete, and to murder each other in the most fun way possible. I love y'all so much. I appreciate everything you do for me. I appreciate y'all coming and listen to me ramble and not make too much fun of me. Other than my wife. But I do love y'all, and thank you so much for coming in tonight. And we will see you in the near future. Game on, my friends.